Dude! It literally, it stood up like you and I would, stood up on 2 feet and walked.
From being tailed by 2 mysterious humanoids in the woods to losing them in the heavy rain, Mireya Mayor's encounter with Bigfoot was close until the creature slipped away into the storm. Let's dive in. After hearing the enduring urban legend of Bigfoot, thousands of adventurers have tried to track down the mysterious creature, which many people claim lurks in the Pacific Northwest. Despite more than 10,000 reported sightings in the United States alone, nobody has managed to obtain hardcore evidence of a real Bigfoot. But now, a group of researchers using advanced data algorithms and the latest technology claims to have found something remarkable: a video that could confirm the presence of a Bigfoot-like creature. How much of this is true? The Expedition Bigfoot team, consisting of Miami-born primatologist Mireya Mayor, teamed up with survivalist Russell Accord, Bigfoot researcher Ronnie LeBlanc, host Bryce Johnson, and Bigfoot investigator Ryan Golombeski obtained this footage in one of their expeditions. This group was determined to track down any signs of Bigfoot, investigating deeper wherever their clues might lead. Mireya, who has built a unique career out of studying primates, explained that she had been approached by various Bigfoot researchers in the past.
In isolation, these findings aren't incredibly significant.
All eager to ask her about mysterious prints and supposed evidence they'd found. Despite the countless witnesses, the scientific community remained stubborn in accepting the idea that there was a mythical creature lurking in the woods. For this reason, she felt that this was a chance to take things further. This was a unique opportunity to do a proper scientific investigation, she noted, emphasizing that it was a fitting endeavor given her background and knowledge about the various tendencies and behavior of the creature that she already knew about. Additionally, Mireya was particularly drawn to the setup of this expedition, which brought together a team of experts with diverse skills to focus on one specific goal. For Mireya, it was unlike any other approach to finding Bigfoot, and she was all in on the adventure and the quest for more knowledge about Bigfoot. Yet this is not the only time Mireya has shocked the scientific community with her rare discoveries. Known as the female Indiana Jones, Mireya has a reputation as an explorer and co-discoverer of the world's smallest primate, the mouse lemur. However, according to Mireya, she never imagined herself as a TV correspondent back when she was earning her bachelor's degree in anthropology and English at the University of Miami, or later pursuing her PhD at Stony Brook University in New York. Reflecting on her path, Mireya admitted that her career had been anything but straightforward. But where did her love for Bigfoot begin?
Some of the methods that Bigfoot researchers employ out here are actually not that different from my own research.
Mireya revealed that, in college, she was a cheerleader for the Miami Dolphins and unexpectedly found herself fascinated with primates. That interest led her to some of the most remote parts of South America and even to Madagascar, where she searched for rare primates that experts warned her she'd never find. Mireya's passion for these expeditions eventually led her to work as a wildlife correspondent, though that role only came because of her fieldwork. Throughout her 2-decade-long career of hunting elusive creatures, Mireya describes herself as both open-minded and a curious skeptic, always letting the evidence guide her beliefs. Perhaps she has adopted this curious skeptic approach due to the backlash she might face for claiming that Bigfoot exists, yet lacks solid proof. Considering how ruthless mainstream science can be, Mireya opted for an approach that would beat the scientific community in their own game by speaking their language: logic. In one interview, Mireya shared that she had seen things during her expeditions that she wouldn't believe if she hadn't witnessed them firsthand. She spoke of moments captured on video that truly changed her perspective on the subject of Bigfoot. Her thoughts on the creature have evolved, especially after seeing footage that Russell recorded in the wilderness. But it gets even better. Mireya explained that what she saw in that video struck her as a creature unlike anything known in the animal world. She saw a figure standing upright and appearing to walk on 2 legs. To her, it seemed there was a large ape-like thing, living far from where it would usually be expected. For Mireya, the search for Bigfoot has always been about more than just solving a mystery. It's about uncovering evidence in an objective way, even if that evidence challenges long-held assumptions. On top of that, Mireya appreciated the teamwork in Expedition Bigfoot, which blended scientific expertise with a shared determination to follow any promising leads.
Change the feel of the expedition. And even though they will be watching from behind the scenes, there is a constant, present, walking reminder that you're in danger.
To Mireya and the Expedition Bigfoot team, this wasn't just another legend to chase. It was a quest that combined skill, technology, and a real drive to find the truth. And oh, did she find the proof she was looking for. Strange, huge tree structures. As they searched through the woods, Mireya and Bryce came across a massive tree structure that left them surprised. It was an intentionally built, weird tree structure standing in the middle of the woods. Though they had encountered similar structures during previous expeditions, like the one in Alaska, this one was much bigger than the rest. Mireya thought it was strange, while Bryce found it impressive. They both noticed how the trees had been carefully arranged to form what looked like a shelter. Standing at 15 feet high, it was almost big enough to be called a Bigfoot house. But that's not all. The top of the structure, where all the trees connected, was woven together with precision, as if by someone or something that knew exactly what it was doing. After examining the tree structure more closely, Bryce formed a theory. He believed that no ordinary animal could have done this. In his view, this structure wasn't something just anyone or anything could have built. This is because the structure included about a dozen logs, each weighing around 150 to 200 pounds, and had decorative patterns laid across them. Bryce thought that it would have taken a group of men to put this strange formation together. So, what or who built these structures? Having seen similar formations in various locations on previous expeditions, Bryce and Mireya started to connect the dots. Bryce felt optimistic about this new discovery, but Mireya didn't think it was that significant.
This is definitely of interest. I just really don't want to start leaping to any conclusions on it.
100%.
Despite their differences, they agreed on one thing. This structure might be a good place to search for DNA. If it hadn't formed naturally, then whoever or whatever built it could have left behind some trace evidence. While they searched for anything they might use for DNA tests, Bryce argued that if something or someone had built this structure, it must have served a purpose. In his mind, the tree formation marked a Bigfoot boundary, possibly marking nesting territory. And here they were, standing right in the middle of it. Seeing his enthusiasm, Mireya acknowledged Bryce's observations, admitting that the structure was mysterious, but she reminded him not to jump to conclusions. This was typical of Mireya, taking an objective approach in her research. As a scientist, she took a logical approach to the unexplained and handled pseudoscience beliefs with caution. Her role in the group was to analyze the so-called evidence skeptically, presenting findings in a way that could withstand scientific scrutiny. Mireya believed that if they wanted their work taken seriously, they had to communicate in a way their critics could accept. For this reason, she avoided calling strange findings evidence. To her, this tree structure wasn't proof of anything yet, though it did remind her of another tree structure they had seen in Kentucky. And Kentucky had been an interesting place. One of their most promising DNA samples had come from there. Bryce understood where Mireya was coming from, so they agreed to keep searching for more clues. Mireya began collecting potential samples from beneath the structure while Bryce carefully inspected the outside for anything else that might help in their research. The area around the structure offered plenty of samples, giving the team fresh hope for their investigation. In Mireya's view, isolated findings didn't add up to much. But when multiple samples came from different locations and different investigations, it raised the question, were these pieces part of a larger puzzle?
In isolation, these findings aren't incredibly significant.
As they investigated the strange site, Bryce came across some hair samples and quickly called Mireya over. After collecting the samples, Bryce expressed his eagerness to bring them to the lab for DNA testing, something that could enable them to know which creature the different samples belonged to. While they did not find a footprint in the area, this structure was turning out to be more than suspicious. Not only did it look strange, but it also had various hair samples scattered all around it. So, they sent the different samples to the lab, but nothing could have prepared them for what they were about to find out. Shocking DNA test results. The team had sent these samples to be analyzed for environmental DNA, or eDNA, a cutting-edge scientific tool. This eDNA, which comes from genetic material left behind by animals in their surroundings, offered a groundbreaking way to capture the list of activities that the local wildlife engaged in. According to Mireya, this was a potential breakthrough. She believed that this scientific expedition might have finally transformed one of the world's greatest legends into something rooted in reality. In her perspective, this could take Bigfoot out of the realm of myth and into something tangible. The samples were sent to Miroslava Munguia Ramos, the project manager of the California Environmental DNA program at UCLA. Miroslava received the different samples, including hair and soil samples from Mireya's team, and spent several months processing them. Miroslava's team used a process known as meta-barcoding, where software matches detected DNA sequences with thousands of published genomes. She explained that when dealing with eDNA, it's common to detect human DNA because human traces often show up nearly everywhere. But as she reviewed the data, she noticed something unexpected.
Determine these credible samples if they could be tied to a specific species that's never been identified.
Though human DNA was present in the samples, Miroslava also found traces of different primate DNA. It wasn't just human and primate DNA. According to her analysis, several types of primate relatives were detected in the sample data. Among these traces was a match for Pan troglodyte, a species of chimpanzee. This was puzzling because chimpanzees simply don't live in that region, making this a head-scratcher, as Miroslava put it. She noted that the higher the number of reads, the more confident they could be that the organism was present in the area. In this case, it was the chimpanzee genus, which had shown up with a notable 3,000 reads. This discovery led Miroslava to conclude that while eDNA technology was improving in accuracy, gathering enough samples and having solid evidence was crucial. Only with clear data could they be confident about what they were studying and determine if it was a unique species. The analysis left her and the team with more questions, but also a sense that they were getting closer to answers. Mireya and her team also weighed in on the significance of the findings. They found it fascinating that the structure, which seemed intentionally built, required both strength and foresight to create. Such behaviors were not unheard of among certain primates, which are known to stack rocks or sticks. However, Mireya admitted that she remained skeptical about the exact purpose or creator of the weird-looking structure. This is because, to her, there was no place for guesswork in science. For this reason, they needed more DNA evidence and proof to fully convince the scientific community that they had found a new species. However, in her expertise, Mireya knew that the process of identifying and confirming a new species was notoriously challenging. This is because for a new species to be accepted by the scientific community, DNA evidence is crucial. Despite countless eyewitness accounts and blurry photographs shared by people claiming to have seen Bigfoot, these wouldn't be enough to settle the mystery.
And that's where we had gotten some of our most interesting DNA results.
What the team needed, she emphasized, was undeniable evidence that could finally close the case. As the researchers awaited further analysis and prepared to gather more samples, the possibility of an unknown primate species lurking in the American wilderness seemed closer than ever before. They knew that with every step, they were inching toward a discovery that could reshape both science and the stories humans have been telling for centuries. While this incident was harmless, Russell and Mireya had another personal encounter with a group of what they thought to be Bigfoots. Make the creature come to them. After chasing Bigfoot through the dense woods for days with no success in getting clear footage evidence of the creature, Mireya and her team realized they had to change their approach. Rather than trying to catch up to the elusive creature, they decided to let it come to them. For this plan to work, they needed bait, and Russell, being a seasoned survivalist, volunteered without hesitation. Russell set off into the woods while Bryce and the crew monitored him closely through the cameras. They tracked his every step, making sure everything looked clear. Initially, things seemed calm. The cameras had a solid view of Russell as he scouted the area. But as time dragged on without any sign of Bigfoot, Russell decided to venture deeper into the forest, hoping to stir up some action. Then, out of nowhere, something appeared. From behind the trees up the hill, the crew saw something large moving fast toward Russell. This wasn't Mireya or any other member of the team. It was a shadowy figure charging in his direction. Instantly, Bryce and the team radioed Russell, alerting him to the presence of the creature. Russell asked them for guidance, admitting that he could barely see anything himself. The crew told him the creature was coming in from the east, about 50 yards away, and it was closing in quickly.
Hey Russ, we see a target making its way towards you, and it is moving, man.
Are we looking downhill, uphill, or in front of me in the direction I'm moving?
Russell strained to see, but the woods were dense and visibility was poor. The sounds around him began to change. Something heavy had clearly been nearby, leaving broken branches and footprints. And then there was the smell. A stench that Russell recognized instantly. It was the same powerful odor they'd encountered on their last trip to Alaska. Russell knew he was in Bigfoot's territory. The closer he got to where Bryce had told him the creature was, the stranger the noises became. Heavy footsteps and low rustling sounds filled the air, growing louder with each step he took. But Russell wasn't going to back down. He pressed on, focusing on the strange noises that guided his path. Suddenly, he heard the distinct crack of a branch breaking about 100 yards from where he stood. Russell radioed back, asking Bryce how close he was to the creature. Bryce responded, telling him that if he stayed on his current path, he'd intercept it soon. Determined, Russell moved in that direction, hoping for a clear sighting of Bigfoot. Meanwhile, on the other side of the mountain, Mireya was following another clue. Bryce had detected a heat signature on his equipment and was guiding her toward it. The woods were pitch dark and heavy rain poured down, making it nearly impossible to see anything. Mireya had to rely mostly on Bryce's guidance to navigate her way through the trees. As she neared the area Bryce had marked, something unexpected happened. There wasn't just one heat signature anymore. There were two, but the thick fog and rain were interfering with the surveillance equipment, making it harder for Bryce to track them. Bryce advised Mireya to continue walking forward, telling her she'd likely cross paths with one of the figures soon. Despite the risky conditions, Mireya followed Bryce's instructions, aware that one of the targets had already disappeared from their radar. And yet, she found herself heading straight toward where the remaining creature had been last seen.
The problem is all the elements are really working against us right now. This is incredibly steep, it's slippery, and we can't really hear as things move through the forest because of all the rain and the hail.
Armed with a flashlight, Mireya scanned her surroundings, hoping to catch even the slightest movement in the dark. But everything seemed to work against her. The steep, slippery terrain, the rain pounding down, and the noise it created made it nearly impossible to hear or see anything clearly. She was practically moving blind. Time passed, and both Mireya and Russell stayed alert, searching for any sign of Bigfoot. However, every time they got close, the creature seemed to vanish. It was as if it sensed them approaching and slipped away into the shadows, avoiding any chance of direct contact. No matter how hard they tried, the elusive Bigfoot always managed to stay one step ahead. While Mireya missed the elusive creature this time round, nothing could have prepared her for what she was about to encounter. Bigfoot captured on camera. On one of their expeditions, Mireya and the Expedition Bigfoot crew were following a lead on a possible Bigfoot sighting area. They had scattered all over the woods in an attempt to cover as much ground as possible. Russell was scanning the area his crew had assigned him to investigate, carefully observing through the lens of his camera. As he surveyed the surroundings, a figure caught his eye. It looked like an animal with blackish-brown fur, and he initially assumed it was just a bear, a creature that was common in the area. But then the creature did the impossible. This bear did something no bear Mireya and her crew knew would do. It stood up on two legs and disappeared into the woods. Seeing this, Russell's eyes widened, shocked by what he had just seen, and he turned to his partner Zach.
Zach, that thing just stood up like you and I would just stand up.
Russell told Zach in disbelief, explaining that the creature had stood up like a human would. Even after replaying the footage, he still couldn't fully wrap his head around it. The creature he thought was a bear had moved on two legs, almost as if it had been squatting and spying on its surroundings, or maybe even on Russell and his crew. And while bears could sometimes stand on two legs, they weren't usually as steady as what he had just witnessed. Russell's curiosity grew, and he decided to try zooming in on the area again to see if the creature might reappear. He focused his camera, hoping for another glimpse, but the creature was gone. There was nothing left to see. It had vanished into the trees. Excited by what he'd just recorded, Russell felt the need to share his findings with the entire crew. He had to show them. This was big, something that could be important for their investigation. Without wasting any more time, he called everyone back to their base camp. When they gathered, the anticipation was high since everyone was curious to know what had made Russell call them in such urgency. Once they were ready, Russell played the video, eager to see how they'd react to the strange creature he'd caught on film. Everyone watched the footage closely, and Russell explained to them what he'd seen. He told them that he had been scanning the area with his telescope, looking across a mile of hillside. He described how, at first, he thought he was just looking at a bear. But as the clip continued, he urged them to watch carefully. "Check this out," he said, slowing down the video for a clearer view. The crew leaned in, fully focused. Mireya, being the logical scientist with a sharp eye for detail, was shocked by what she saw. For a moment, they had all felt close to uncovering something extraordinary. As the video slowed, Russell replayed the moment when the creature rose up on 2 feet and walked away.
Watch this.
Oh my God.
Whoa.
Mireya and Bryce, who both knew a bit more about Bigfoot than the rest of the crew, exchanged glances. To them, it was clear this was something else. It couldn't just be a bear. They watched as the creature's head moved, looking around before it walked off. Mireya, with her trained eye, found this detail very compelling. To her, the way the creature's head moved and the steady balance it maintained was strange. She noted that the creature moved vertically, head to floor, something she knew bears couldn't do. It wasn't just the movement, but also the behavior. To her, no animal she could think of in that area moved like that. This was a groundbreaking find for the entire crew. As Mireya watched the video, she grew more convinced. Based on what they all knew about the local wildlife, she couldn't think of another creature that would behave this way. To her, the footage hinted at the very thing they had been searching for. It was hair-covered, upright, and moved in a way that didn't match any typical bear or known animal. Russell's find felt like a breakthrough for the team. They hadn't expected this kind of discovery, and as they watched the clip over and over, they began to realize they might have recorded something that could change everything about their research.